Hello, my name is Aki. In this video, I will explain what a uniform grid is and how it can be used to optimize unit selection in a real-time strategy game. In RTS games, it is common to have hundreds or thousands of units on the screen at the same time. When the player draws a selection box, a naive approach would be to check every single unit to see whether it falls inside that box. While this works for smaller scenes, it quickly becomes expensive and does not scale well as the number of units increases. To solve this problem, we can use a special partition technique called a uniform grid. By organizing units into grid cells, we can dramatically reduce the number of checks needed during the unit selection. So, what exactly is a uniform grid? A uniform grid divides the game world into an X by Y grid of equally sized cells. Each unit in the scene is assigned to a cell based on its current position. The key idea is to reduce the number of objects we need to check during selection. Instead of testing every unit in the scene, we only consider units that belong to grid cells relevant to the selection area. When the player draws a selection box, we check which grid cells intersect it. Only the units inside those cells are then checked to see if they actually fall within the selection rectangle. As units move across the map, they may cross cell boundaries. When this happens, the grid is updated, so each unit always remains assigned to the current cell. So how much better is this compared to the naive approach? With the naive approach, the system iterates through every object in the scene. As a result, the best, average, and worst case time complexity are all big O of n. Since every unit must be checked to see whether it lies inside the selection box. With the uniform grid, we only check units that belong to grid cells intersecting the selection box. This means the number of checks depends on how many units are inside those cells, rather than the total number of units in the scene. However, in the worst case scenario, for example, when the selection box covers the entire map, the uniform grid will perform the same or worse than the naive approach. But at the same time, in a typical gameplay, selections cover only a small portion of the map. In this case, we only need to iterate over a limited number of grid cells and their units, which significantly reduces the workload and scales much better as the number of units increases. To recap, uniform grids provide a simple and effective way to optimize unit selection in RTS games. By partitioning the grid world into equally sized cells, we avoid unnecessary checks and focus on only units that are relevant to the player's selection. While the worst case performance is similar to the naive approach, real game scenarios rarely involve selecting the entire map. In most cases, uniform grids significantly reduce the number of units that need to be tested, making selection faster and more scalable as the number of units increases. Because of their simplicity and performance benefits, uniform grids are a common and practical choice for special queries in RTS games, especially when dealing with large number of moving units. In any case, thank you for watching. If you find the video helpful, please give a thumbs up. If you would like to support the channel, you can find links in the description below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.